Welcome everyone to another episode of AI for Business series. Hope everyone's having a good week. Today we're going to be talking about AI for sectors, so transforming industries. We've been a little more focused on kind of the whole aura of processes, but let's get specific today, talk about what certain industries we're seeing, trends. We'll go from like real estate, e-commerce, healthcare, professional businesses, professional services, you name it. So happy to have everybody on here. Take a little welcome thing out here. And we're going to be joined by our partner out in Illinois, just west of Chicago, Jerry Peterson. He is a longtime public speaker, now author, and want to have him join us in here. Jerry, you on?
Right. Yes, sir.
We can get some calls going. Welcome. Thanks for joining me today. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Brian?
I'm well. The sun is shining and life is good, so can't complain. But for those that are on, wanted to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself, and then we can dive in.
Yeah, my name is Jerry Peterson, and I am an expert Agile and AI coach. I've been working with some of the largest Fortune 500 companies in the country for most of the last 30 years. And Brian, I think, just found this out about me a week or so ago. It's like, I actually wrote my first AI programs in the 80s. So I've been around AI for decades now. And it's like, I've seen it evolve and I've seen what works and what doesn't work. So hopefully we can provide some insight.
Absolutely. Well, happy to have you on here. And frankly, on the Scale Through Automation consulting team, I've been learning a ton from your expertise and your experiences. So that's part of what we'll dive in today, guys. And I guess we're ready to get started, Jer. Good to go?
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. So like I mentioned, we'll be moving to kind of like the what into the where. So different industries that we want to focus on, how these are, kind of transforming certain areas, and ultimately give you guys some insight into what some different trends we're seeing within these in these different spaces. So to get started, Jerry, I wanted to focus on real estate. It's a highly relationship driven industry, but there's definitely a lot of administrative work. So how is AI changing the game for real estate professionals from what you've seen?
Well, AI does two primary things. It's applicable to real estate. It is a great research tool. So it allows me to actually review inventory, to actually give specifications. So many of the things the MLS already does, but just faster and more definitive than it was able to do before. The other is the automation of workflows. So once we get into finding a property and want to begin the process of purchasing a property, there's a lot of paperwork involved. And AI is really good about automating workflows and processes so it can collect the information which is needed to actually execute on the purchase or rental of a property and make it really easy to do and take it out of the real estate agent's hands so they are not responsible for doing all of it. And we can collect that information and keep it done. One of the things that I do, you mentioned that it's a very relationship-driven business. I've actually built chatbots for real estate agents that will actually publish their properties, allow for virtual walkthroughs, and give specifications and allow communication about the properties, both for sellers and people looking to purchase. And say, okay, let's get our inventory out there, make it available to the people that are looking to buy a home, rent a home, even investors. It's like I'm working with investors now who are looking to, break through and don't want to call 300 people a day. AI does that very nicely. So AI does many of the things that are tedious for humans to do and allows us to be more efficient in doing our work.
Yeah. No, I think even like down to descriptions and like market trends. Think about that chatbot being able to follow up on a property with a buyer on a Saturday, and then answering those basic questions, scheduling a follow-up viewing for that week. Like it's part of the trend of what we've been talking about, and just offloading some of those daily operations and making it accessible 24/7. So allowing them to focus entirely on closing the deal as the human agent in real estate, but also keeping it warm and getting people the access to be able to view those. So
Yeah, and if you think about it from an AI chatbot perspective, an AI chatbot builds a relationship with the people who can connect with it. So if an agent uncovers or gets a listing for a new property that fits the description that a person is already looking for, it can automatically, without intervention from the agent, actually give them the information, give them the virtual walkthrough, and get them connected to the property to gauge their interest. So that frees up the agent to do things that are a little more meaningful for the agent.
yeah, no, I love that. I mean, again, AI assistant for all this stuff. So let's focus now on that AI. I mean, excuse me, that 24/7 availability is huge with AI. So like, what about something like e-commerce? Like retailers kind of always looking for an edge, or
Right.
where does AI kind of fit in there?
Yeah. So again, we're talking about how can I build relationships. So if I'm working in e-commerce, the first thing is I have to have marketing in place that will actually attract a customer to get them to make an initial purchase. But if I've set up my AI systems appropriately, I'm keeping their information so that when I get other products that come online that I feel that they might be interested in, I can connect with them and actually distribute and show it to them without having to run any ads or do anything physically. Because once I've got them as a customer, my job is to keep them as a repeating customer. So AI works really well to do that. Again, chatbots is a really good solution for that. I've done this for even pizza places where you can have people. It's like, okay, I've got a special running on Tuesday, and I'll clip this coupon, which is basically just a QR code that you can bring into the store. It's like, and get a free pizza on Tuesday night. So the question for e-commerce is, how do I turn one-time buyers into repeat buyers and then consistent buyers? And once I have a relationship with them established, how do I keep and nurture that relationship? And AI does that very effectively.
Yeah, man, I love a free pizza when I can get in there. I think the behaviors around it too, like recommending products as far as putting that together, kind of making it like hyper targeted, right, on the
Yes.
buyers that you have, and ultimately, like you said, having them be repeat buyers. That's always something in talking, kind of recurring revenue that is important for a lot of these businesses, and it's kind of the automatic piece of AI that can do it on the back end and being predictive, but helping with like forecasting demand as well, right? Kind of
Of course.
inventory order kind of before the season hits, whatever you're kind of into.
Yeah, and we've been doing that with machine learning for decades now. It's like, okay, understanding the trends in product purchases, but it's like the thing that AI can do differently on the back end that we didn't have before was understanding the specific needs, wants, and desires of the people you've already built a relationship with. So it gets better over time at understanding what products you're likely to buy and only presents you with the things that you have a higher percentage of liking. So it eliminates all the other stuff that you don't have to look at.
Yeah, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Let's pivot to something a little bit more complex, I guess. Healthcare, privacy, accuracy, pretty paramount here. But what have you seen as far as AI safely being integrated into some medical practices?
Yeah, and I think I told you that earlier this week. The first AI program I ever wrote was for doctors because we've all had the experience. You walk into a doctor and there's an interview process. They ask you questions, you answer, but it tends to be the same questions that they ask over and over and over again. So the first AI program I built was a program that actually emulated those questions, not to eliminate the interview process, but to get the doctor farther down the line and provide him with a base level of information so that he could come in and start making better decisions and spending less time. And that's one of the primary functions we're trying to eliminate from people in general is let's take the tedious things off of their plate. Let's let them do the things that require creativity and intelligence and free up their time to do those things. So that's great. Another thing that I've done for hospitals is to actually define the processes. So we know that there are going to be prescriptions written in hospitals for people that are actually in for an inpatient stay or whatever. But there's a lot of paperwork that goes along with that. What if we could automate those processes so that once we said, define that we need a particular prescription for a patient, the paperwork could all be filled out automatically, given to the pharmacy, and it gets delivered to the floor at an appropriate time, without having to task the nurse with creating all of the things that are necessary in there. So two different things that we're doing here. We need to use AI for research purposes. So if there are unusual symptoms, we might want to dig into medical research to find out, what is the likely cause of this? What's going on? And another thing is, how can I automate workflows to make our staff more efficient?
Gold right there, man. I mean, like you said, it's about kind of providing better, faster data to be able to diagnose or just instantly kind of have an idea of what's going on, speed up that process. And the administrative piece of it is huge. Like, imagine if you could, have all those charts that the nurses are having to put in every single day, that they have those medical notes for, the electronic health record piece kind of handled on the back end while they're focusing on patient care. Like that's huge.
Yeah, and one of the processes I usually have companies that I work with go through is what we call a time audit. What we have the staff do is, for every half hour during their day, write down what they actually had to do, what were the tasks they had to accomplish. And then over the course of a week, we evaluate how much of their time is spent doing things they shouldn't be doing. How much of their time is spent, if they're a $100 an hour, $200 an hour doctor, and they're spending 50% of their time doing $20 an hour tasks, we've got some work to do. We need to get that off of their plate and make sure that our most valued resources are doing the things they should be doing in the environment.
Yeah, I love that time audit concept. I mean, speaking of billable hours, like, what about professional services? I know we talked a lot about this, lawyers, accountants, those industries that are built on billable hours and deep expertise. I mean,
right.
We see a ton of areas there. So
it comes back to the same two processes. It's like, we need to give them better research tools so that they can find out quickly how to do things. So as a consultant, and I am a consultant, I frequently ask AI, it's like, okay, build me a process for doing X. And then, I will work together with the AI to say, okay, I like this area, I don't like that area. It's like, this needs to be more fleshed out. So it quickly gets to the point of, if I'm writing specs or I'm writing a proposal for somebody, I do it with AI, using my knowledge, training my AI tools to actually get to the point where I've got a good looking proposal put together in a much shorter amount of time than I would have ever done previously.
Yeah.
If I'm working with, having to prepare presentations, I used to spend weeks doing PowerPoint slides to get a presentation put together. I rarely spend more than an hour doing it now because I lay out the concepts. I let AI generate the slides and make it look really nice. So it's been revolutionary for that time, from that point of view. But we still have the workflow automation. This is a lot of what we do for accounting and for legal firms as well. In a legal firm, we have processes that have to be followed. So what can I take and automate that workflow to actually get it done more quickly, done more correctly, have less manual intervention and an opportunity for error introduction, and get that put together? And for accounting, that's pretty much all process driven. So how can I take, the quarterly close or the monthly close process for a client and automatically collect the information, format into the appropriate structures, fill out the right things, and spot any anomalies that need to be rectified? AI can do all of that for us. It just makes us better at being who we are and lets us focus on the things that require creativity and intelligence and experience to draw from.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it just goes back to the heavy lifting piece of all the data, going through documents, creating documents. A lot of that stuff in these industries, specifically professional services, are rules based too. So it just makes it a great application for something like AI that can offload a lot of that stuff, assist. and then allow, like you said, perfectly said though, Jerry, like allowing them to be the professionals that they are with the expertise, take a lot of that load off the plate with AI, and ultimately kind of fit into the prescription of what they need for their clients, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wilton and I shared an example a couple weeks ago with a CPA firm we did a business audit with. That was huge, identifying a lot of different areas, but focusing on the very manual tasks of, say, state by state tax forms and just different things that they had to go through and research on their own. You can now build that into this system and ultimately take a lot of that, I guess, manual heavy lift off your plate. So, appreciate you sharing that. That's a really common industry. And speaking of common pieces, like I wanted to kind of know, we've kind of been talking about it, but like listening to all these examples, they're all different industries, but like is there a common thread here? Is there like a universal benefit? We've kind of touched on it, but just curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, there's a place that I start universally when I'm working with clients, and that has nothing to do with AI. It has to do with understanding the real problem you're trying to solve. If you throw AI technology at a problem that you don't understand, you're not going to solve the problem because you didn't know what the problem was. So regardless of the industry, the first thing we need to do is understand where our problem lies. If we have a problem with production of whatever product that we are deriving benefit from, that's one issue. If we're having a problem with marketing, that's another issue. If we're having a problem with sales, those are just distinct issues that need to be addressed differently. We could also have a problem with management. So if management is not doing what it needs to do to deliver the maximum amount of value, then we need to focus on solving that problem first. So just throwing AI as technology at a problem or at an environment without understanding what the problem is we're trying to solve sets us up for failure, because we don't even know how to establish success criteria. So we don't know whether we succeeded or not. We just know that we implemented some code. So we need to get good at understanding, it's like, where does the problem lie? What's the right technology to apply to it? Because we've talked about a couple of different things. We've talked about what's generally called generative AI. So generative AI is very good at research. It's very good at providing answers. It's very good at working as a collaborative tool with us. And then there is agentic AI, which is more geared towards is automating workflows. So taking the manual repetitive stuff off of people's plates. The underlying concept under this for the people that I've got in my system is you need to enhance their autonomy, give them more autonomy, help them to develop their mastery, and make sure that they understand the purpose for which they're doing the work. Those three things together allow me to get the best out of our people and combine that with AI and the time audit to make sure that they're doing the right things and they're not doing things they shouldn't be tasked with. That gives us our best opportunity for actually increasing the productivity of our organization.
Yeah. And fitting it into the right areas, right? I mean, I think the repetitive common theme here is those repetitive tasks. I've repeated myself there, but just the thing, any whatever industry you're in, the manual data entry, the manual inquiries, scheduling, like AI is handling all of that. So I think, like you said, identifying first where these problems are, what you're trying to solve, is huge, and that's kind of exactly what we talk about when we mention, again, time and time again on these episodes, our business audit to help identify where you and your team are spending your time, have it come back with time retrieval, and then focusing on kind of analyzing those areas to leverage AI and automation.
Well, and the risk is if we get our people tasked with a lot of manual repetitive tasks that they absolutely hate, we're going to turn them into what I call zombies in my book. It's the people that they turn their brains off. They've been treated and led to believe as like their thoughts and their ideas are not wanted. And so they're going to come to work. They're going to, sit there and wait for you to tell them what to do, and they're not going to be very productive. In fact, their favorite phrase is when they run into a problem is they shrug their shoulders and they say, "That's just how it is here." They resign. We don't want that out of our people. One of the goals that we have is that we need to get our people to take ownership of their work, and they're never going to do that if they're in a zombie state. So we need to make sure that we're giving them work that's going to keep them stimulated, make sure that they're appreciated and felt, involved in the process, and we work with them collaboratively.
Yeah, I should have had a little plug for your book on here. I was just going through it myself. Yeah, it's just getting into kind of the more of like the right fit piece, Jerry. Like there's so many different applications, like tools out there. Like how does a business owner in like any of these sectors or industries like know which AI tool is right for them?
Yep. That's why we do what we do. So it's like we are tasked with actually wading through tools and finding out what works and what doesn't work, and finding solutions to apply it to business problems. So in our business, we are tasked with understanding what the common business problems are across a whole niche. It's like a whole vertical, and say, all right, so which of these, then we can walk in with a tool set and say, which of these are you experiencing most, in understanding how to relate them to the tool sets that are actually currently available for you. Now, you can't be working in today's environment and not realize that there's new tools that's coming out every day. So the question is, don't follow shiny objects. Let the professionals actually gain an understanding of those tools for you and recommend the correct ones to solve the problem.
There,
yeah, I'm still here. Are you not hearing me?
Broke up a little bit there. Go back like 10 seconds.
Okay. I think this relates back to the problem solving imperative. So if I don't understand the problem that I'm trying to solve, I can't match it up with the appropriate tools. So first, identify your problem, then we can develop a solution based on the available tool sets at the moment, knowing that tool set's going to change. If you keep trying every latest tool that comes out, you're never going to get anywhere because you're never going to become proficient at them. So,
yeah,
my recommendation.
I had someone comment on I think our post from yesterday for this event. It's just like throwing AI at it is just hoping that it's going to fix a lot of things in different areas. Like that's just the inefficient way to think about it. Like really identifying what am I trying to solve. It's very simple, but it's definitely not easy. So again, that's why we do what we do. Like you said, I love that.
Well, and there's a warning that's out there. Not everybody's going to understand who this author is. Eli Goldratt, one of my favorite authors, wrote a book called Necessary But Not Sufficient. And he wrote it decades ago, 30 years ago. And in it, he basically said this was during the ERP implementation era. It's like if a business doesn't change how it acts, how it conducts business, in other words, change from industrial age thinking to information age thinking, any transformation that they do is going to fail because you're trying to manage with the wrong set of ideas and evaluations. So that's perhaps more important than even the tools that we select, is understanding you have to change how you do business to leverage the technology that's currently available.
Yeah, no, there's millions of businesses out there wondering the same thing of like, how can I make this applicable to my operations, to my bottom line, to my time? That's huge. And a lot of the focus we have is on those small to medium-sized businesses because of the resources and allocations that they have to put towards running their business and wearing a lot of hats. And I think it speaks volumes to, some of the different things you spoke about within these different sectors. Being able to map out those bottlenecks. You always talk about those bottlenecks too, Jerry. Like having identified where those are is huge. And then that's where you start to formulate and strategize how we can actually make this work within your specific business, within your operations, where your people are spending time. Because I always say, like, if we can scale your business, cut costs, great. But the main thing is we're never going to get our time back. So if we can help save you 10, 20, 30 hours a week, get your employees to do the same. Back to your notion, I'll say it, you just talk about it all the time, but get them out the zombie mindset and into more of the zealot mode, and get them working for you with a true mindset of moving forward on some of the work that obviously these different folks have to apply to their certain industries. So appreciate you sharing that.
My pleasure.
Got about 5 minutes left. I see a couple comments. I don't know if I can see any questions left, but we'll just end them short. We'll have to put a note of your book in here, but also we can, if you guys have any questions, feel free to message us. Again, Jerry's in the Chicago area, up in Illinois. Was happy to have him on here today. Jerry, any ending comments, notes you want to throw out there before we jump?
There are some interesting things going on with AI. So I've actually watched this, the transition and the transformations as they've been tried to be implemented by companies for ERP and then Agile. And now we're doing AI, and we're following the same pattern. So we haven't learned. And it kind of gets back to what I was just saying. It's like, if you don't change how you manage your business, you will not see success from an AI transformation, because industrial age thinking was built to optimize, to have people working. How many widgets can you screw together in an hour? That's not how we judge in information age workers. So we need to have a different set of criteria. We need to have different management techniques. And micromanagement is one of the key things that we look at and say, okay, if we're experiencing this, that is not consistent with information age management. So we need to make sure we're managing appropriately to get the best benefit out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's not a matter of if AI can fit into your business now. It's a matter of kind of when you're going to choose to leverage it and talk to folks like us. We've got some the experience and built agents and different things in all these industries we're talking about. So if you're curious, there's a lot of different avenues to go down. So feel free to jump in there. But we'll end her a little early today, Jared. Appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
Thanks everybody for joining. We'll be on next week. We have Chuck from Colorado who will be joining us, and we'll kind of get into, we've teased it a little bit, but where to start, really more of a practical guide to AI adoption. But Jerry, again, great insight. You got a ton of expertise back to the 80s, man. Wasn't even around yet. So really appreciate your time. And yeah, thanks everybody. Charvel, thanks for hopping on. Other LinkedIn users I see commenting. Doctors, patients, charting is number one. Yeah. If you guys have any questions, again, feel free to reach out. We've got a lot of different ways to be able to get started. So thanks again, Jerry.
Thanks, Brian.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Yep.